Hi, I'm Michael Keaton. This is for all you men. Ever wish you didn't have to go to work? Yeah. Stay home, enjoy the good life. Watch this. Let's go, finally! Yeah, okay. Where's Bobby keep the extra diapers?
On a beer? 7 o'clock in the morning. Scotch?
Kenny! Don't paint your sister!
Relax, you're gonna be great. There's nothing to this, you know.
Hon, we got it covered, right, guys? Let me show you how to be the one thing you never expected. I get it. A mother.
Michael Keaton and Terri Garr in Mr. Mom, rated PG.
In a world where podcasts reign supreme, two friends dare to ask, do you even movie? Hosted by filmmaker Henrique Couto and movie aficionado David D. Neuer. Spoiler alert.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Do You Even Movie? My name is Henrique Couto, here with my good buddy and co-host, Double D, David De Neuer.
Greetings.
And as we call him, Mr. Wow.
Mr. Wow?
It's like Mr. Mom, but upside down.
Upside down, yeah. Because I always remember that joke about the tattoo with Mom and Wow.
That's a joke?
No, on SpongeBob it was.
Traditionally, jokes make people laugh.
Well, SpongeBob makes me laugh. Shut up.
Good buddy. And we're getting ready to start a month of celebrating the life and career of Martin Mull.
That is correct.
Martin Mull, a character actor who, while he made a big name for himself in television, especially in the 90s and early 2000s, is also one of the great character actors, especially of comedy films in the 1980s and 90s.
Yes.
And he passed away very recently, and in order to celebrate him, we are not calling it Mull-Gust.
We're not calling it
Because
Mull-Gust.
that's awful.
I don't know what you want me to do. Like, I tried to think of a name, and that was the...
If it was better, I would like it.
We had plenty of time.
Mull-Gust?
Mull-Gust. Yeah.
Look, you made the sign, man.
I made the sign.
It wasn't
man.
even
The
on.
sign turned off. Oh, my God.
You broke it.
I didn't break it.
He broke it.
I did not break it.
But yeah, so tonight we're going to be talking about, I would say a classic, but one that has been somewhat overlooked over the last few years.
Absolutely, it has. It was one of those that I remember it playing cable a lot when I was growing up because my parents would have it on when it was on for the most part, and
they would have it on when it was on.
They would have it on when it was on.
It'd be weird if they had it on when it was off.
They would usually watch it if it was on TV. Yes, but no, it was one of those movies that it took me probably until my mid-20s to really actually sit down and appreciate this film, to be honest.
Really? It's only 91 minutes. You'd think it'd be faster.
Yeah, right?
Hey! Got him, folks.
But yeah, we were talking about 1983's Mr. Mom, starring Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton. At least it's not my cocaine.
My cocaine.
My cocaine here.
I'm going to take a sip of my water.
So, that's great. I tried to hide the fact. And then you just bring attention to it anyway.
Listen, I like drinking on air. I'm sorry.
We know. We know.
We do know.
We need to do another one of those 12-hour live streams where you get toasted.
Toasted just a tad.
That was hilarious.
It was fun.
But anyway.
Yes.
That all being said, this is a very special film because it was in many ways the beginning of John Hughes' feature film career.
Yes, it was.
Even though this is not generally considered in that epic oeuvre that would come just a year or two later.
Yeah, I mean, and it was going to be about another couple years before he did his first directorial, and I think when he did a writing and directing together.
Yeah, I would have to look at his filmography to get the exact beats.
Yeah.
But he was a very, very prolific writer, but this was the beginning of his, dare I say, extremely sentimental storytelling.
No, absolutely.
Which became what he was most known for. Before that, he was mostly known for writing for the National Lampoon. He was mostly known for writing little jokey things here and there.
He wrote Playboy, little stories. Yeah, I mean, he was writing all over.
But then Mr. Mom is the beginning of him writing about his own life experiences, especially one of his fortes, in my opinion, which is getting a little too close to reality. No, because
he does that.
He likes to show the ugly side of marriage, but in a positive way.
I think that's what a lot of people don't realize is like with movies like, Breakfast Club, Weird Science, 16 Candles, all the ones he's known for, I feel like a lot of those deeper ones, like She's Having a Baby, Some Kind of Wonderful, the one we watched recently, Curly Sue, I feel like a lot of those get left to the side because they weren't received well when they got released for one, but they found an audience when they hit cable, when they hit video and everything, and they're kind of getting some love now, especially since that one John Hughes collection I have is Planes, Trains, Ferris Bueller, She's Having a Baby, Some Kind of Wonderful, and Pretty in Pink.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, that's a collection that I wouldn't have expected because for a while there, it was only the Brat Pack collection, which was 16 Candles, Breakfast Club, and
his teen films are kind of immortal.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny to think that the voice of an entire teenage generation was some 30-year-old guy.
Who got along with the kids and also was a big music fan with the kids, too.
He was a big fan with them. So, like, when they weren't around, he was like, I don't listen.
I don't listen to music. Not until these kids are around. No.
So yes, we are talking about 1983's Mr. Mom, a film I've always enjoyed.
Yeah,
a film I discovered a lot later than some of Hughes's other work because I wanted to watch more of Hughes's work.
Yeah, and I mean that's the thing is like when you know John Hughes's name from those cult classics that we've all come to know and love, it's crazy to look back at his writing career and see what all he's credited on, movies that like I forgot about his credits on.
Oh, you mean like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy?
No, but like more so. For some reason I forget he's the writer on Home Alone a lot.
How?
I don't know.
His name is the first name on the credits.
I know. That's one that kind of slips my mind from time to time. But it's just like every time I watch him, I'm just like, oh shit, yeah, he did write this.
Yeah, he was the main guy.
He influenced a lot of the comedies that I grew up watching, but I didn't realize until later on that it was him until I like looked at the credits closer and whatnot.
So what do you have against John Hughes?
I have nothing. I love John Hughes. I'll fucking fight you.
I like that. It's like until I looked at the credits closer and read the letters as they were organized.
I also, it was there was a period where in college especially that I wanted to track down his entire filmography, both writing and directing. And by that point, I mean, we're talking 2011, 2012, a lot of those either hadn't hit Blu-ray yet, they were still regulated to DVDs, and some of them were even out of print for a little bit, like Dutch especially was out of print.
Dutch was out of print. Well, on and off. Like when I bought it on Blu-ray, it was in print.
Yeah.
I paid like $21 and now it's impossible.
I looked into the last like Blu-ray of Dutch for like $20, right around the time that you and I started really, like your Thanksgiving watch started happening. Because I found a used copy for $20, and then that was the last thing listed on Amazon.
I bought mine brand new on Best Buy because I had a gift
remember
card.
when you got it, yeah. You were excited.
So, but now, thank goodness, Dutch is streaming and readily available, and that's a film we'll be definitely talking about in November.
Yes.
So, but for now, I guess it's about time we jump into Mr. Mom from 1983, unless there's more you want to embarrass yourself about when it comes to I Know What You Did Last Summer.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm
as soon as this is over, we'll be watching. I always know.
Oh God, the fuck we will.
Yeah, no, don't worry. I already bought it on your Voodoo account.
You better not have.
So, well, I mean, whoever's credit card's on it, that's who got charged.
That's mine, and you better not have.
Oh well, life is full of fun surprises.
I'm putting off right now buying Bad Boys Ride or Die because it's $25 right now, which isn't bad, but it comes with all the bonus content. But I'm also just like, it's gonna drop. It's going to drop. I hope it's going to drop.
Well, of course it's going to drop. It's not like it's physical media. They're not going to run out of the 4K digital download.
Sorry. That's it, kid.
Sorry. That's the end of that. So anyway, let's get to the pertinent deets on Mr. Mom.
This pertinent deets start with Mr. Mom. 1 hour and 31 minutes, rated PG for some mild vulgar language. The director of this film is Stan Dragoti. He gets his start in 1972 with a film called Dirty Little Boy. Goes on to direct McCoy in 1975. One of my personal favorites, Love at First Bite in 1979. Have you seen that? With
Love at First Bite?
George Hamilton, Richard Benjamin.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, dude, that movie's so funny. Then he does Mr. Mom in 1983. She's Out of Control in 89. And then his last credit is Necessary Roughness in 91.
Oh wow, not that long.
Not much. No.
Well, did he do something else?
No, his resume stops there, and he did not pass until I want to say I think it was 2021 or so.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Moving down to our writer, we've already talked a lot about him, but let's go into Mr. John Hughes. He gets his start as a writer in 1979 on Delta House, which was the pre-Animal House. I want to say short or something like that they did.
Wow, you sound drunk.
Class reunion in 1982. Mr. Mom in 83. He writes Vacation in 83. Nate and Hayes in 83. 16 Candles in 84, which he directs. The Breakfast Club in 85, which he also directs. European Vacation in 85. Weird Science in 85, which he also directs. Pretty in Pink in 86. Ferris Bueller in 86, which he also directs. Some Kind of Wonderful in 87. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles in 87, which he also directs. She's Having a Baby in 88, which he also directs. The Great Outdoors, Uncle Buck in 89. Christmas Vacation in 89, and Home Alone in 1990.
Well, real quick.
Yes.
Delta House. Don't read my screen.
Too bad.
We're on a show together. So I'm helping. I'm not saying hey stupid. I'm just saying I went ahead and looked it up real quick while you were talking. And Delta House was actually a spin-off, a television spin-off.
Oh, okay.
Of Animal House.
Because Animal House would have been 78.
Yeah,
that's right.
a year later. Right. And it apparently had one season of 13 episodes.
Damn.
I had not heard of it. Executive produced by Ivan Reitman. So that is what it is. And obviously they brought on Hughes as one of the writers.
Yeah, and I have a book all about the real Animal House. I think that's what's actually called, that goes into the detail of the fraternity and everything. And I've read reviews of it that's really good. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but Hughes has a couple writing segments in that book, so I'm very anxious to get to it.
A house made of animals.
A house made of animals, just like a house made of wax. Yes. It is a house, literally.
A friend of mine was on social media talking about the House of Wax remake.
Yeah.
And said, he was like, I just imagined that they were having a meeting about this film. Mm-hmm. And they were like, I want to see the original House of Wax because I think we should remake it. So we jokingly slid him a copy of Tourist Trap as a prank.
Yes.
And then the guy was like, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Like, oh.
Because it absolutely is a remake of Tourist Trap more than it is a remake of House of Wax.
Well, yeah. Well, House of Wax, the original, doesn't really fit into a teen scream space the way the House of Wax remake.
I mean, it feels more like waxwork in a sense, but, I mean, used without the supernatural element.
It feels like Rocky, without the boxing.
Yeah, shut up. So I was about to say the supernatural element's not that, but never mind. Moving down to our cinematographer, we have Victor J. Kemper. He gets his start as cinematographer in 1970 with The Magic Garden of Stanley Sweetheart, Husbands in 1970, They Might Be Giants in 71, The Hospital in 71, Seamus in 73, shoots The Gambler in 74, and then in 1975 he shoots a little film called Dog Day Afternoon.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of it either.
But I know it's hard to work with animals, so God love him.
So then he goes on in 76 to shoot Stay Hungry, one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's, I want to say earliest feature films. Then he does Slapshot in 77.
Okay. Yeah.
Audrey Rose in 77. Oh God in 77. Coma in 78. The Eyes of Laura Mars in 78. Magic with Anthony Hopkins in 78. And Justice for All in 79. Shoots The Jerk in 79. The Final Countdown in 1980. Xanadu in 80 as well. Partners in 82. Shoots Mr. Mom in 1983. National Lampoon's Vacation in 83. The Lonely Guy in 84. Cloak and Dagger in 1984.
Oh, you mean
Child Peril the movie. Child Peril the movie.
Oh yeah. Well.
Pee-wee's Big Adventure in 85, Clue in 1985, Hot to Trot in 88, Cohen and Tate in 88, one of my personal favorites, See No Evil, Hear No Evil with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor in 89, FX2 in 91, Beethoven in 92, Tommy Boy in 1995.
Wow, this guy shot
everything.
An immense amount of comedies.
Eddie, the Whoopi Goldberg film in 1996.
Oh, that's where it started to go down.
Jingle All the Way in 1996. American Pie Band Camp in 2005.
Oh.
Bringing On All or Nothing in 2006. Unfortunately, he died in 2023 at 96 years old. No cause of death given, so I think it was just old age.
Well, at 96, he's probably skydiving.
Jesus, but Victor J. Kemper, we salute you. What a hell of a resume.
An incredible list of films.
Yes, absolutely.
And so many of them memorable.
Yeah. I had a lot of big favorites on that one. So moving down to our IMDb synopsis, it says, after he's suddenly laid off, a husband switches roles with his wife. She returns to the workplace, and he becomes a stay-at-home dad, and he has to take care of 3 young children, a job he has no clue how to do.
I mean, that pretty much nails it.
My synopsis says, when Jack Butler is laid off from his job, he assumes the role of stay-at-home dad while his wife returns to work. While his wife begins to move up the corporate ladder, Jack struggles to keep his family together.
Yours was a bit wordier.
Yeah.
But they both accomplished it. Yeah. But real quick, I'm just going to There we go.
Fair enough.
I just fixed his microphone like a mom. I should have licked my thumb.
Please don't.
And wiped you clean too.
So moving down to our cast, we have Jack Butler, who's played by Michael Keaton. 91 credits on his resume, by the way.
Michael Keaton's? Well, because he kind of fell off the face of the earth for a while.
About the late, I would say late 90s, early 2000s, his resume goes a little flat. But starting in 1974 on Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, appears in Mary Hartman in 77, Rabbit Test in 78, Mary Tyler Moore Show in 79, Working Stiffs TV show in 79. Then he gets his first feature in 1982 with Night Shift. Mr. Mom in 1983. Then 1984, he does Johnny Dangerously. 86, he does Gung Ho. Touch and Go in 86 as well. The Squeeze in 87. She's Having a Baby in 88. Beetlejuice in 88. Clean and Sober in 88. The Dream Team in 89. Batman in 89 as well. Pacific Heights in 1990. One Good Cop in 91. Batman Returns in 92. Much Ado About Nothing in 93. My Life in 93. The Paper in 94. Speechless in 94. Multiplicity in 96. Jackie Brown in 98. Desperate Measures in 98. And Jack Frost in 98.
The Mutant Killer Snowman.
I wish he would have been.
I gotta say, I'm always surprised when I look back at Michael Keaton's resume.
Yeah.
That his work was so compressed. Like the amount of stuff he did in 88 alone. But then the fact that he did Batman in 89 and Pacific Heights in 90 is crazy.
I can honestly say I've seen every movie on this resume that I just read, and I really don't think he has a bad film. I'm going to say it. I really like Michael Keaton.
Just because you like Michael Keaton doesn't mean you didn't have a bad film.
I don't... all the movies on that list that I just read, I would watch easily right now.
Multiplicity.
I like Multiplicity. You don't like Multiplicity?
It's fine.
Okay, I was going to say, we talked about Multiplicity.
But it is toward the end of his big run.
But
his initial big run.
Okay, so he does. So let's go back. So he does Batman Returns in 92, Much Ado About Nothing in 93, which he's hilarious in. And then he does My Life in 93. Have you ever seen My Life?
I would never want to see Your Life.
Where he finds out he has cancer and he's dying?
It sounds funny, but no.
It's an amazing movie. Then he does The Paper in 94, which I got to show you. The Paper.
I love The Paper.
Yeah,
the Paper is very, very good.
Fantastic. Speechless, maybe the one that I enjoy it, but it's not great. He and Gina Davis play speechwriters that fall in love.
Are they writing for like politicians? Okay.
And there's one point where they start sabotaging each other's work.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's got some pretty good scenes. Multiplicity, I'll watch it. I like it. Jackie Brown, I think he's great in. And Desperate Measures, I got to show you another great one where he plays a psychopath.
No, I mean, I was not saying that he is not a good actor.
Oh, no, that's exactly what you said.
Okay, he is not a good actor. Case in point, Batman.
Batman. As I wear this shirt, you say that to my fucking face.
I would never say anything close to your face.
Moving down to our list, we have Terri Garr, who plays Carolyn Butler in the film. 159 credits on her resume, by the way. Starting in 1963 with A Swingin' Affair, she does Pajama Party in 64, appears on the Batman series in 66, Mary Jane in 68, appears on Andy Griffith in 68, Star Trek in 68, That Girl in 68, It Takes a Thief, The Moonshine War, MASH, The Odd Couple, The Conversation in 74, Young Frankenstein in 74, Maude in 75, The Absent-Minded Professor in 77, which those who don't know, that's the original version of Flubber. Oh God in 77, Close Encounters of the Third Kind in 77, The Black Stallion, One from the Heart, The Escape Artist, Tootsie, The Sting 2, Black Stallion Returns in 83, Mr. Mom in 83, Firstborn, After Hours, Miracles, Fresno, Sesame Street, Out Cold, Let It Ride, Short Time, appears on Tales from the Crypt in 91, The Player in 92, Dream On in 92, Mom and Dad Save the World in 1992, Murphy Brown 93, Larry Sanders Show, Duckman, Dumb and Dumber, Ready to Wear, Good Advice, Woman of the House in 95, and even appears on Frasier in 95 as well.
You know, it's funny that you say this because I knew that she had quite a career.
Yeah.
But I will say that as we were watching this film tonight, I definitely had that moment where I was like, holy crap. She comes off as so much more seasoned than Michael Keaton. And I knew that he was early in his acting career.
Yeah.
But I mean, I could not have been more correct. I mean, she had just piles and piles and piles of credits.
Yeah.
And my God, I mean, she's one of the very few people I've seen who bounces between TV and movies in that era so quickly and effortlessly.
And that's one thing that I picked up on with Keaton's resume was correct me if I'm wrong, but typically
You're
it was one of those situations where if you did a feature and then went to TV, that was a down spiral, correct?
Well, yeah. So it's more that it was generally, and the rules are different because Michael Keaton would be considered a movie star.
Yeah.
And what was her name again? I'm sorry.
Terri Garr.
Terri Garr. What's wrong with your nose? Did you do
my nose,
cocaine before the show?
It's my lip. My mustache is sweating.
That's not how that works.
That's too bad.
We're sending you back to elementary school.
Would you keep going?
But Terri Garr, right?
Yeah, Terri Garr.
Terri Garr, while a very talented and memorable actress, was not really considered a movie star. She wasn't Cheryl Streep.
Yeah.
Meryl Streep. This is like my 8th podcast.
Did you combine Cheryl Tiegs and Meryl Streep together?
Sure. My powers are limitless. There are many things I've done. But so while she was in major movies with major roles, she was bouncing back and forth a lot more, similar to probably how we're going to see when we look at Martin Mull's biography as well.
Absolutely.
So on one hand, if you were a movie star, if you were a Michael Keaton and you went to television, it would be considered a sign that you're on your way back down.
Yeah.
Because usually you would go through TV on your way up to features and then go back through TV
down
on the way down. Now, of course, today, television and movies are barely different.
Yeah.
They exchange casts all the time. You have very few major actors who would refuse to be on a high-end television series. But it was considered like a working man's space and a place where movie stars didn't hazard to go unless it was, the first time that taboo was really being broken was when Steven Spielberg had Amazing Stories.
Mm-hmm.
Because then it was like, well, I'm going to work on TV with Spielberg.
Yeah.
So they were able to kind of, keep their appearances up.
Totally makes sense. So moving down to the last on our cast that we're going to talk about is Martin Mull, who plays Ron Richardson in this. 146 credits on his resume. Gets his start in 76 with Mary Hartman. Then goes on to do Fernwood Tonight in 77, Wonder Woman in 77, Laugh In. Gets his first feature in 78 with FM. Appears on Taxi in 79, Serial in 80, My Bodyguard in 1980, Take This Job and Shove It in 81, Square Pegs, Private School, then does Mr. Mom in 83, Bad Manners in 1984, Clue in 85, Fast Times in 86, which I did not know there was a Fast Times at Ridgemont High spinoff show.
You didn't know about that?
No.
Oh man, yeah.
I watched the first episode. I understand why it didn't get far.
Oh, you have to watch the 4th episode to get to the abortion.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. The Boss's Wife in 86, DC Follies in 87, a personal favorite of Henrique and I, Cutting Class in 1989.
Please, no, David.
With Roddy McDowall playing straight.
And we don't mean that he's not playing weird. We mean like he likes women.
Think Big in 1989, Ski Patrol in 1990. It's Gary Shandling's Show in 1990.
He finally got it right, everybody. He finally got it right.
Yes.
Good job, Davey.
Thank you, bud. The Golden Girls in 1990, Dream On in 91, Roseanne in 91. Then he does The Player in 92, Dance with Death in 92, Miracle Beach in 92, Family Dog in 93, The Larry Sanders Show in 93, Mrs. Doubtfire in 93, Mr. Right in 1994, How the West Was Fun in 94, Lois and Clark, The Adventures of Superman in 95, Jingle All the Way in 95, Drew Carey Show in 97, and then also Land Sabrina the Teenage Witch as the principal in 97 as well.
Which is the first time I fully remember him.
That's got to be for me too, honestly. There may be a movie in there that Mom and Dad were watching. Like Clue is one that I saw very young. So that could have been it too. But yeah, I would say Sabrina is one that I definitely remember.
For me, 97, I was 11. Yeah. So when it was airing, I was the age group that it was marketed towards. I was watching it on ABC.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was marketed to you. Was ABC? Yeah, it was ABC.
ABC. Yeah. I remember those promos for Sabrina when that show was coming out. That they were everywhere.
Yeah, no, it was nonstop. If you were a teen, you had to watch Sabrina. Well, and they were able to get us because kids my age had watched Melissa Joan Hart on Clarissa Explains It All.
Yeah.
So we already knew who she was. We liked her. We loved her show. So then they were like, hey, we got a new show with Melissa Joan Hart, and everybody wanted to watch it.
Yeah.
Because we were all sick of the secret world of Alex Mack by that point.
Did you watch Netflix's Chilling Adventures of Sabrina?
No.
I have not had a chance to yet.
I mean, I'm sure it's cool.
Yeah.
I just... The appeal of Sabrina the Teenage Witch for my generation was that it was literally a sitcom.
Yeah. Well, Salem stole the show.
Oh well, yeah, he was hilarious. but yeah, aside from the talking cat, it was a sitcom. It was not a serious program. It was goofy humor every week. And I understand that they went in a darker direction.
Yeah.
Maybe it was more true to the source material. I don't know. But because of that, it made me go, what? There's a serious horror Sabrina, but it didn't make me run to go watch it. But I'm not against watching it.
I'd bought the complete series of Sabrina the Teenage Witch because I'd wanted to watch. I couldn't remember if I'd seen all of it, and I made it to season 6, and then I abandoned the show.
What a dick.
Dude, it got bad when she went to college. Like, I can do like the first season of the college seasons, and then I'm out. There was a part where Hilda and what was it? Aunt Hilda and what's her other name? Hilda and Zelda. They do a rap song in one episode.
Yeah, it was friggity fresh.
No, it wasn't. And then the premiere of season 6, they did a Matrix joke with Cisco. Cisco appeared on the show.
Yeah, the thong.
Yeah, that is exactly right.
I don't understand what the problem is.
It was not good. It became a chore to try and finish that show. So, good news is, as of this recording, Mr. Mom is currently available on multiple platforms, one of which being Pluto, Roku, Tubi, so you can find it pretty easily right now. They also did, several years ago, Shout Factory put out a really cool Blu-ray that we watched for our presentation of it, and the print looks really good. It has some bonus features on it. Can't recommend it enough. So you can find Mr. Mom pretty easily right now. Also, you can find the Voodoo series.
Yeah. Yeah, because, when you're thinking, I can't wait to watch a new series, you're like, step aside, Apple. Stop itching your mustache.
What? Can't help it.
This guy's worrying me. Step aside, Apple Plus or whatever. Step aside, Disney. All of you out of the way. Make room for Voodoo, which is now not even a thing.
Fandango at home.
It's Fandango at home.
I'm curious.
We were both shocked when we saw a trailer for a show based on Mr. Mom.
I may attempt the first episode.
What was it, like 2007?
Something like that.
It was it?
Hang on.
Oh boy, he's not prepared,
guys.
No,
I gotta pull it up here.
No, it's okay. It's okay. We know you're not prepared.
Calm your tits.
That's all.
2019. September 12th, 2019.
Whoa. You'd think we all would have seen it because we were all desperately watching whatever during the pandemic.
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah. I may check it out, but we'll see. So, what was your first time seeing Mr. Mom, Henrique?
So, in my early to late 20s, I had gotten my mid to late 20s. I mean, I had gotten really, really into John Hughes movies. I discovered Planes, Trains around that time.
Yeah.
And I was in the process of writing my first comedy, which was Depression the Movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I just wanted to distill as much John Hughes as I could. I mean, I grew up watching Weird Science. I grew up watching Ferris Bueller, but I hadn't watched everything he had. So I was really digging into it. And eventually, inevitably, I came to Mr. Mom as one of his first feature-length writing credits that he did all on his own.
Yeah.
So I don't even remember how I watched it. I might have went to Family Video or something to rent it.
I can see that, yeah.
And I remember watching it and really enjoying it. It is a very watered down version of where he was heading as a writer.
Yeah.
But still super, super fun. And Michael Keaton, of course, carries it very well. The casting is great. The humor's handled pretty damn well. But like I said, it does have, like, my only complaint with it is it does feel kind of watered down because his later films got so intensely honest.
Yeah.
And this one is definitely, it dances around that, but it doesn't go there.
We'll get into it, but I think the last 10 minutes goes very sitcom-y.
Who you calling a commie? Is it the red glasses?
It's the red glasses.
Hi-yo, da-da-da-da-da.
God. Would you like to know my first time?
Absolutely not.
I didn't
All right,
figure.
so moving on.
All right, fair enough.
We're going to talk about I'll Always Know What You Did Last Summer. No, okay, go on, dude.
So, like I said earlier, this is one that my parents did enjoy. So anytime it was on TV and they caught it, they would usually turn it on. And I would watch it, but it wasn't one that I really paid much attention to. Like, I knew Michael Keaton at that time because of Batman, and, I liked Michael Keaton.
You went to school with him?
Went to school with him.
Oh, okay, nice.
Learned how to be a Batman.
Oh, that's important.
But
did he teach you how to get nuts?
He did not teach me how to get nuts, if only.
That's a shame.
But no, I didn't really find it myself until probably about 6 or 7 years ago, which I think I got like some cheap DVD at like GameSwap, I think. And I know it was an X rental. I remember that. And I took it home and watched it. And I remember just really, really liking it. And then you some time ago got your Blu-ray and also spoke about it. And it made me kind of want to go back and watch it. So then when we got the option for the show, I was just like, yeah, that's a good idea. So rewatching it this time, it probably held up the best it ever has for me so far.
Oh, okay.
So I think it really hit for me this time. But I've always enjoyed it, but this time especially, which I'll get into, I really did enjoy it this time.
I mean, I got a kick out of it. I always have. But I will say the thing I forgot was I forgot just how massive Martin Mull's character was in the film. So that really was a good pick.
Yeah. No, this Clue and a couple others I can think of really have a good role for him, whereas we're going to talk about as we get through the series, he's a lot of side characters more so than anything.
Oh, God, yeah. I mean, Martin Mull was always that guy in that thing, which is kind of the way people like to describe character actors.
Well, did you ever see because one of the things I remember about Mr. Mom getting into my zeitgeist when I was young was Pizza Hut did a promotion that was like 4 free movies that they had. One was Mr. Mom, one was Drop Dead Fred, and I can't remember what the other 2 were. But the commercial had Martin Mull in it.
It was a Pizza Hut?
Yeah, I want to say it was Pizza Hut. And this Pizza Hut guy comes to the door and he's like, hey, I got your pizza and your free copy of Mr. Mull starring Michael Keaton and
Mr. Mull.
Yeah, the great Mr. Mull. And he's like, and Martin Mull's like, oh, Martin Mull. He's like, oh, yeah, he was so good as the greedy, obsessive boss, blah, 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 blah. And I remember that commercial being really funny.
I'm trying to find it, but I'm not having a whole lot of luck.
Yeah, I can't remember. I want to say it would have had to been like early 2000s or so.
Oh, wow. I'm finding Martin Mull Pizza Hut commercials from 1985.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember that being a promotion, so that's also kind of brought it into my mindset. So that was one that I really was happy to find later on in my life.
Well, I'm glad that you made it through that.
So are you ready to get into Mr. Mom?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. So we open with a shot of a beautiful suburban house. We are in Detroit, and we cut inside as we meet Carolyn Butler as she is getting ready for the day. She's getting Jack Butler up. She's getting her kids up. So we meet Alex and Kenny, which are her 2 sons. Alex is told, not to mess with his brother, especially Kenny's whoopee, which is this blanket he carries around. So naturally, the first thing Alex does is get out of the bed and start tugging on Kenny's whoopee.
Well, yeah, what else are you supposed to do?
So we also find out they have a little baby girl named Megan as we see Carolyn getting her ready. Jack also readies himself for the workday, and he sits down. He's sharing a joke with his kids, which they can call the joke a mile away, which I can't remember the exact joke, but it's something about a pickle.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact joke. But one of my favorite bits at this point is he takes Megan's bottle and puts the milk into his coffee.
Yeah. No, I like that. He does it so casually, too.
So then we see that he kisses Carolyn goodbye. He goes out to join his coworkers and his boss in the car as they drive to work. And we find that Jack works at the Ford Motor Company.
Damn right he does.
Yeah, that's it. You found it.
Oh, I found it. Apparently it wasn't feeding... Oh, fuck. You can't hear it right now.
Damn it.
Well, I mean, they can't see it anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say,
on here,
but you can find the commercial on YouTube, and it's pretty funny.
Yeah, search Martin Mull Pizza Hut 2003.
So Jack gets to work. Like I said, we find out he works at the Ford Motor Company, and on the ride over, he's talking with his boss, Jinx, which is played by Jeffrey Tambor. He's also in the car with Christopher Lloyd, which is another coworker, Stan, and they're kind of suspicious that something's up with the factory. And this is around the time of the 1980s recession, so they have reason to be worried. And
the collapse of the automotive industry.
Yep. Yeah. So Jack is talking with his workers, and they're have you heard anything about it? And he's like, hey, I took my wife. We went to see Rocky the other night, and of course the guys are like, well, which Rocky was it? Was it Rocky 1, Rocky 2, Rocky 3?
They spend most of the time arguing about which Rocky it is.
And Jack's just trying to drive home the point. He's like, when you're down, you're not necessarily out. And he's like, oh, you know what? Forget the Rocky. Just understand, guys. Like, we're gonna stick through this. We're gonna get to it. That's when he gets called to Jinx Latham's office, and that's when he finds out that Stan and his other coworker have been let go, but then also Jack finds out he's been let go as well.
Yep, and the way they play it is very, very good.
Very funny.
It's very funny. They're all like fighting. Christopher Lloyd is basically strangling his boss, and he calms him down and tells him like, it's okay. I can't believe you'd fire these guys. Like, he fired you too. He's like, and me too.
Wait, I'm fired?
And then he starts strangling him too.
Starts attacking Jinx as well.
It's a great way to start the film, keeping it lighthearted.
Yeah.
Especially as he gets fired from his job, laid off. I'm sorry. Furloughed,
yes.
And it definitely gives you a kind of a sense of the humor you're going to get.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of realism slapstick.
Yeah.
Like, it's slapsticky, but not beyond the scope of reality. Like, nobody's falling down 4 flights of stairs or getting hit by a full paint can, but they are, like, jumping at each other over a table to strangle each other, or, the washing machine starts spraying water everywhere.
Well, then you got
stuff
Stan's
like
line while he's in the office. He's like, all right, I guess there's just one more thing to do. Claim disability. And he goes for the window to jump out.
Claim disability!
So that's when Jinx also was like, hey, you guys all make it right. And he gives them back their money for the carpooling. Reassures them they're going to bounce back, and that's when we see them go at it once more. Next, we see Jack and his buddies are driving home from work, but they're in a cab. They've clearly been to the bar. They've had a few drinks, and Carolyn is inside with Alex and Kenny, warning them like not to mention the firing to their father.
Yeah.
Because even the kid's like, does Dad know he's been fired?
Yes, honey, he knows.
So that's when Jack comes in the door, and Kenny, of course, can't hold back, and he ends up blubbing about the firing, and Jack's like, hey, don't worry about it. Like, everything's going to be okay. And Carolyn's like, well, come on in. I got the Colonel for dinner. And he's like, well, we can't afford that. So they sit down to a nice dinner, and he tries to convince Carolyn that, he feels great with everything's going on. Yeah, he's been laid off, but he's going to get some work done around the house. And during his time off, that's when Carolyn also offers to go back to work to help with the money situation.
Well, she offers to look for a job.
Yeah, to go out on the workforce.
To which he bets her $100 to her $1.
100 to 1, yes.
That he can get a job before she can get a job. She, of course, has no interest in this competition whatsoever.
He even gets the kids involved.
Yeah, he has them hold on to the money. And then we smash cut to, take the money.
Take the money.
No. Hey, a bet's a bet.
Yeah.
I didn't even want the bet. And now she's got a job. She did reference right before that she had a college diploma.
Yeah.
She had 2 years of experience in marketing and some connections.
Yeah.
So now she is a working lady in the early 90s, shoulder pads and all.
80s.
What'd I say? 90s?
90s.
Oh, 80s, whatever.
Yes.
You know what? You can do the show by yourself, all right? I'm
just, you correct me when I do it. I get to do it to you.
I didn't correct you earlier when you said that.
What, Mr. Mull?
No. What was the wrong word you said? It's okay.
I was going to say,
I
pick one.
I don't correct them all.
Yeah, because I fuck up so much.
Oh my gosh. Guys, Dave's feelings are hurt now. Let's remember to write in and ask him about his yellow belt.
Oh, yeah, I can't. I'm going to fucking find that thing. So that's when Carolyn gives him the rundown of the kid's schedule, tells him the signs in regards to, if Megan does this, that means she wants this. If Alex or Kenny does this, that means they want this. So she kisses him bye, leaves out the door, and that's when, as soon as she leaves, we hear a storm start, and we see that Jack is driving the kids to school, but he is failing at learning the drop-off points.
Yeah, he enters through the exit. In a big roundabout that's in front of the school.
All these cars are honking at him. The kids are like, Dad, you're doing it wrong. And even so, he pulls up to this one woman who says her name's Annette. She introduces herself, and she's like, you're doing it wrong. Yeah. And explains that, south is for south is for drop-off, and north is for pickup.
Right.
So that's
everybody knows that.
That's when she explains it to him. He says he'll get it right. He even gets scolded by another mother as he's leaving the parking lot. So at her new job, Carolyn takes the elevator up to Richardson Frankel Advertising, and that's when she meets Eve, Richardson's secretary, and she takes her to a board meeting that is basically just chaos. There's cigarette smoke all throughout the room. There's pizza boxes on the table, buckets of chicken on the table, and everybody's arguing.
I mean, honestly, that sounds like a pretty good Tuesday to me.
Yes. So we meet Ron Richardson, played by Martin Mull. He introduces Carolyn to the group, and he asks her for her opinion on some layouts for a tuna ad that they're trying to put together.
Yeah.
And
Schooner tuna.
So she goes over and she's like, I'm the last person that you want to ask. It's my new here. And he's like, hey, do you eat tuna? You know everything you need to know. Like, give us your input. And she basically says that none of these ads are appealing to women.
Yeah, which I found kind of amusing. Only because we're in 1982-83.
Yeah.
And she walks into this massive marketing firm and says, here's a mind blower. Women do the grocery shopping, so let's market to women. That's how all marketing from like World War II to today is.
Yeah.
They are aware that a large percentage of the people who make household purchasing decisions are women.
Especially coffee ads.
Oh my gosh. I mean, be a good little Maxwell housewife.
Oh God.
Speaking of which, I have that pizza ad if you want me to play it.
Oh, yeah.
We can't show the visuals, but I can play the sound. Maybe. We'll see.
You won't believe what Pizza Hut's got for you now.
Hey, here's your pizza. With all dogs go to heaven too. Dog meets dog, dog loses dog,
I give it 2 paws up. I concur. The DVD is yours to
Apparently,
keep
it was
when you
also
buy a large Pizza Hut
Mr.
pizza at
Mom.
regular
Mr.
price.
Mom, Drop Dead Fred,
Choose from
And
4,
Bill and
count
Ted's Bogus
4
Journey.
Bill and Ted's
complete
Bogus Journey, yeah.
classics and spend the
And Honeymoon in
night
Vegas,
in
I just saw it,
Hollywood.
yeah.
Wow, Mr. Mom with Martin Mull. Whatever happened to that guy?
He got hungry.
I remember that commercial.
Yeah.
He got hungry.
You only get it when you
There's a
gather
longer
around the
version, but
good
yeah, I do
stuff.
remember that one.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't find the best one ever.
Just saying there's one where he's
I
more
was
featured.
just excited I could pipe it in for you, and now I've realized that I made a horrible mistake.
I'll leave.
Thank you.
So they're cracking jokes at her, and she's really not impressed. And that's when we see Jack is now at the grocery store with Megan and Kenny, and he's clearly out of his element. He's making a mess, running into cans, spilling stuff. And what's funny is they keep having this woman call out, clean up on aisle such and such, and then the PA will call out the cleanup. And he's struggling at the deli counter. He doesn't realize the options he has. Like he's like, okay, I'll take a pound of ham, and she's like, would that be such and such and such and such? Like all the options. All right,
yeah.
how about some cheese?
He-
Swiss, American.
He gets overloaded with decision fatigue.
Yeah.
He just doesn't understand how to handle the grocery store. It's played up quite a bit. But I love that one where she just names all the different cheese. She's like, let alone all the cheddars.
And the woman behind him's like, just get some bologna.
Yeah, just get some bologna.
So while he's checking out, Jack also realizes that there's been a mix-up with Kenny. Kenny is no longer in the car. It's another kid. And he finds out that Kenny is with another woman, so he trades the kid back, and the woman's like, well, I don't have kids.
Yeah, he put the kid in a cart, and then it turns out that was not her kid either.
Oh, we also missed one of the best things is he grabs a box of Kotex, and she goes to scan the Kotex, and she's like, oh, I think these are on sale. And he's like, oh, no, it's fine. So then she calls to the Kotex. They're 19 cents off. And that's when he also realizes when he gets back to the counter that now Megan is also missing.
I mean, I've got to say, I don't know if I understand the methodology or the mindset of being embarrassed at getting maxi pads for your wife when you're in the store with 2 kids.
Yeah.
It's like, you're like, no, I want everybody to think my wife is dead. Like, otherwise, like, obviously, if you're buying them, it's not like they're for you or something. I mean, you're literally there with your children. Clearly, there's a woman in the household. Yeah. Very likely. But it was very funny and very indicative of the 1980s, the whole like absolute fear of anything menstruation.
And naturally, with it being a Hughes project, Edie McClurg is the checkout woman
of
at
course.
the register. So that's when he finds out Megan's missing, so he goes to find her, and he runs into one of Carolyn's friend, Joan, who is holding her, offers her help to him with shopping, sitters, menus, and even if he just wants to talk, even giving her number with says anytime at the bottom.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, she lays it on so thick it may as well be delicious Reese's peanut butter.
And that's also when Jack decides to just completely bail out of the parking lot, backs into some carts, and speeds off from Joan. So that's when later that night, Carolyn arrives home. She finds Jack giving the kids a bath. She says that her day was terrible, and we also see that Jack has put Alex in the tub wearing his slippers.
Well, he didn't want his feet to get wet.
Didn't want his feet to get wet. So the next morning, Ron sends a limo to pick up Carolyn. He comes to the door, and Jack sees that he is outside, and he's like, oh, crap, in my bathrobe. So we see him run off. When Ron comes to the door, Alex is now at the door holding a rifle and greets him. And he says, I got to go get my dad. Jack then enters with a chainsaw, goggles, and overalls, revving the chainsaw, causing Ron to kind of go to the side of the steps.
Yeah. No, the way they depict the absolute familial chaos is very fun. And again, it's a very realistic slapstick.
Yeah.
It's not so over-exaggerated that it couldn't happen in real life. It's just a little too silly.
Yeah, and you want to talk about Keaton getting nuts. He has that look as he's just revving the chainsaw approaching Ron, too. It's so good. So that's when he greets Ron, offering him a beer, and Ron's like, oh, it's 7 a.m. And he's like, oh, scotch? And Ron's like, oh, I can't drink on the workday. Oh, sorry, big guy. So that's when he also shows Ron, he's like, hey, come on over here. I'm going to take out these walls. I'm going to do a whole new wing on the house. And he's like, oh, what are you going to do? 220? He's like, oh, 220, 221, whatever it takes. One of the most memorable lines of the movie.
Yeah, 220. 221.
So Carolyn comes down, joins them, and that's when her and Ron leave, and Jack says, hey, honey, if you call the house and I'm not home, I'm either at the gym or the gun club.
Yeah, he's definitely laying it on thick that his manhood is quite challenged by this.
Quite challenged, yes. So we see Ron and Carolyn flying on his private plane, enjoying some champagne and lunch, and Ron questions, hey, this job has some long, hard hours. If that's going to be a problem with your husband, just tell me, and I'll take care of it. So we can already see that
him.
Ron's schmoozing Carolyn over a bit. Just a bit.
A little bit.
Just a bit.
Yeah, just a smidgen.
Well, she also, we did forget to mention that Carolyn, when she initially goes into the board meeting for the first time, that Eve, Ron's secretary, is like, oh, Mr. Richardson. He's like, oh, well, he told me to call him Ron. When was that? on my interview over lunch.
Ooh.
So back at the house, we see Jack and the kids are gathering all the laundry, and they are stuffing it into the washer. And when I say stuffing it into the washer, the door can barely close.
And that's how you're supposed to do it.
And that's when we see Jack make a concoction of Tide,
powdered detergent, liquid detergent,
fabric
Ajax,
softener,
fabric softener,
window cleaner at one point.
Yeah, he's pouring it all into a big cup and then stirs it with a screwdriver.
Yeah.
And puts it in the washing machine, which I feel like is the way to go.
I mean, we immediately see it sudsing up,
You
and
need
also
at least 5 pounds of soap if you want to get your clothes clean.
This is true.
Not just clean, but zestfully clean.
And a foam party at that, too.
Ooh.
So that's when we also see a TV repairwoman is showing up. Megan accidentally knocks over a plant as she's wandering around the house. Then we find the kids are making chili in the kitchen. He asks the kids where the vacuum cleaner are, and that's when Alex is like, "You mean Jaws?" And he's like, "Your mom calls the vacuum cleaner Jaws?" That's when...
Because he finds out that the vacuum cleaner has a bit of a mind of its own.
Yes, it
and
does.
tries to eat whatever it can get itself onto.
In its path. So he plugs Jaws in. Jaws starts going to work. An exterminator then shows up at the house. Jaws claims the curtains from the rod. Another repairman shows up to work on the water heater while we see the exterminator downstairs deathly afraid of the washer as he's backing back up the steps.
Yeah. No, the exterminator is one of my favorite little characters in this movie.
Yeah.
Because every time he's on screen, there's some kind of a weird little joke.
Yeah.
Like always like, I'm going to check your basement for bugs. Hope I don't find any. It's good stuff.
It really
good
is.
Stuff.
So the chili starts to burn on the stove. That sets off the smoke detectors. Jaws is moving on its own, making its way towards Kenny. Downstairs, the washer breaks free from the walls, so now there's hoses spraying all over down the basement. The kids are calling for help. Jack goes down, fights the detached hoses as Kenny calls for his dad. He runs up upstairs because Kenny's whoopee is now stuck in Jaws, so he tells him to run as he just disassembles the vacuum, jumping on it and beating it.
Yeah, he basically kills the vacuum cleaner.
Yes.
Beats it to death.
Seeing this, all 3 repair people leave the house just simultaneously. They're running into their cars. They all almost drive into each other as they're driving away. And that's when Jack changes Megan, and because we see at one point Megan has accidentally gotten a can of chili, which she has eaten. And the repairwoman's like, "You can't give a kid chili." And Jack finds that out the hard way because the next scene he has clothespins on both sides of his noses as he has a full trash bag, and he's like, "Where does mommy keep the extra diapers?"
Yeah, and the kids all run away, to which he responds, "Cowards."
So that's when Carolyn returns home that night. She finds Jack on the couch really cutely asleep with the kids on top of him, and Carolyn and Jack are next in the car with the kids. The next day we see Jack is going to an interview with 2 guys in the waiting area, and they tell him, "Hey, you go ahead of me because, there's no jobs available in this city." And they both crack jokes at that point too.
I mean, that scene was kind of sad.
It was sad.
He just sees 2 guys who are his future as they're both broken and basically resigned to a life of domestic bliss.
Exchanging a recipe too.
Yeah, they're literally exchanging recipes so much, and they're so interested in the recipe that they're willing to just go, "Oh, you go ahead in the line."
Yeah.
But also, there's no jobs in the city,
jobs.
so who cares?
So next we see Carolyn and Jack are in the car with the kids, and Carolyn begs him to do this thing for her because, she did these things for him when he wanted them, and we find out that they're going to Ron's estate because he's hosting a corporate Olympics. Which I've never heard of, to be honest.
I mean, like a corporate obstacle course, basically.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So that's when Ron encourages Jack to join the Olympics, but Jack lies because they agreed on the way there that they were going to stay 15 minutes max, and then they were going to leave. Excuse me.
No excuse.
And that's when Ron is like, "Hey, Jack, you should compete." And he's like, "Oh, well, we can't. Carolyn's Aunt Emily is sick," and Carolyn's like, "Dying." They both exchange story. And that's when I think Alex is like, "Oh, she's dead." So Jack eventually breaks down. He has the kids go grab his athletic clothes from the car. And that's when he's informed that, since it's Ron's tournament, they have to let the boss win because he's ready to compete. He's ready to tear this competition down.
Of course, his response is, "He's not my boss."
Not my boss.
Like, but he's your wife's boss.
So we see a race take place as the men all wear scuba. I said slippers, but that's not the word.
No, they're fins.
Fins. Thank you.
They're swimming fins.
Swimming fins. Yeah. And they run a race. Jack is out first, and he wins the first run, inches out to the obstacle course with Ron just ahead of him. We see multiple guys at one point just trying to hold Jack back. Like, they're grabbing onto his legs, trying to make him fall because they cannot let him win.
Yeah, they're desperately trying to keep him from one-upping the boss and potentially causing all of them a lot of trouble.
Yeah, so Jack keeps neck and neck with Ron, but regardless, at the last second, catching his wife's eyes, he decides to go down. He lets Ron take the finish, and he wins. Carolyn thanks him for taking the win as she watches Ron celebrate as he's lifted up onto the shoulders of his coworkers.
I mean, what a beautiful moment in sports.
So the next morning, we see Jack, now with a full beard, watch Carolyn drive off for work, and we see Jack gathering laundry and mocking daytime soap. He's like, who watches these things? But what's funny is he's got the TV placed all around the house so he can watch as he's doing his chores.
Yeah, he has a little TV set when he's ironing, when he's doing laundry, whatever he's doing.
And then that's when we see him next enjoying the soap, enjoying a beer, and he knows exactly what's going on in the show. He's talking back to the show, saying all these things that are predicting. And next he's in the kitchen doing laundry, ironing, and still watching the soap opera.
Was that the point where the phone rang too?
Yeah.
And he picks it up and it's somebody.
It's Joan.
He starts talking to her about the soap opera.
Yeah.
And they start arguing about who's behind some plot development.
And that's also a great point because Alex comes in. He's like, my grilled cheese doesn't have the cheese melted. And of course he's doing, ironing. So he just puts the grilled cheese on the table, irons it, and hands it back to Alex.
Hey, I mean, it works. And oddly enough, irons like that you iron your clothes with, they have a nonstick coating on them.
They do.
So if they didn't want us to cook with them, they shouldn't have done that.
Have you made a grilled cheese with an iron?
No.
Okay. I just thought there might be a story.
No. When I'm in a hotel, the last thing I want to do is work. I'm not going to cook in the room. Are you kidding?
We should also mention here at this point that Kenny brings his whoopee in, which is looking more and more worn out by the time, so Jack actually staples it at this point. So he gets a call from Joan. They discuss the soaps. He forgets about the iron, and the iron starts burning. Also, the popcorn machine that he had put popcorn into just starts spraying everywhere. So he grabs Alex's plastic sword and just starts beating the popcorn maker.
Yeah, he just starts whooping it, which the kids love. They're all very amused by him just beating the hell out of an appliance.
So later that night, we see Jack, Joan, Annette, and a few other women in the neighborhood are playing poker, and they're using coupons as their chips for the pot.
Yeah, this scene's so great. Yeah, because it's just all the moms from the neighborhood and him.
Yep.
And they're throwing down, they're playing poker, they're throwing down coupons. They mentioned that it was his idea to play poker because they used to play bridge.
Yeah, bridge.
But this is way more fun.
Way better. So Jack's enjoying a beer, he's enjoying a cigar. Carolyn comes home, but she walks up right as Joan has her arm just slightly around Jack.
Yeah, well, she wants him to look at her
pear.
Her pear.
Yeah.
Yeah. And boy, does he.
So she comes home to find Jack and the ladies. She tells him that she's got a lot of work to do upstairs, so she's going to go. This is when the ladies take a hint and they split. So Jack wants to do something nice for her, so he takes her a piece of pizza up with a nice tray and some candles, and he's like, hey, room service for you. And she's like, well, if I wanted to eat, I would have eaten down there with you and your friends.
Burn.
So clearly she's not thrilled.
Sick burn.
So that's when she comments on his shirt. She's like, how long have you been wearing that shirt? Like, you've been wearing it for this long. It looks ragged. Why don't you get rid of it? She also talks about how his beard is not one of her favorite things and that he also may be putting on a little bit of weight.
Yeah, she rips into him so brutally.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that they're trying to give that whole, the tables have turned, but I feel like no man would be that harsh to their housewife about, she's just... Yeah, he's a mess. He has an ugly beard.
The house is a mess. The kids are a mess.
Yeah, oh my gosh. But the way he reacts when he takes the pizza and goes like, I'm going to sleep on the fat couch if I can get through the door.
So he grabs the blankets and pillows off the bed, goes downstairs and sleeps. We next see Jack watching more soaps as the kids play outside. Joan calls him apologizing about the poker game, and Jack tells her that they're not speaking right now. And Carolyn says, "Well, I'll be." Or Joan says she'll be right there. And suddenly, just right as he hangs up the phone, there's a knock at the door, and Joan enters wearing a trench coat.
Yeah, and we all have a suspicion about where that would be going.
Where it begins to go, because she states that he looks great. She begins to caress his body, and he asks her, what do you think of the shirt? And she says, oh, I think flannel gets me really hot. He asks if she thinks that he's fat, and she says, well, I like a man with a little meat on his bones. Finally asking about his beard, and that's when Joan just strips off her trench coat, revealing a bright red nightie underneath.
Indeed. 80s AF.
80s AF. So Joan and Jack share a kiss right as Carolyn comes home questioning, how could you, Joan? Joan comments he's too much of a man to leave alone, and that's when Carolyn draws a gun, and Jack's like, Carolyn, you can't do this, what about the kids? And she's like, oh, I've thought about that, putting a giant silencer on this gun.
Yeah.
to alert the kids, asking him, well, why did he do it? She states that she did it for 8 years, why couldn't he handle it? So Joan and Carolyn struggle with the gun, and suddenly it goes off. Jack gets shot. He's upset that his shirt has been ruined. He takes one last swig of beer before falling on a chalk outline that he then moves into.
Yes. This is some A-quality dream sequence
It's
stuff.
so good. We next see Jinx, his boss, come in, and he's like, oh, Jack, why couldn't you hold on? I was coming over to give you your job back. Ron appears with Carolyn, and he's like, oh my God, what'd you use, a 38? And she goes, 38, 39, whatever it took.
Great callback.
So he calls Jack, Jeff. He's like, oh, bad business, Jeff. And he's like, that's Jack. And that's when we see the TV cut to credits, revealing it all to be a daymare. As Jack inspects his shirt, he wakes up, and then we hears a knock at the door. Jack opens it to see Joan, telling him he can't do this. And Joan's like, well, what do you mean? Like, it's the poker game. He's like, well, we can't do it. Not today. There's been a death in the family. And he quickly shuts the door.
Are you thrilled you got to say the term daymare on a podcast again after
that wasn't
a
Freddy's
long
Nightmares?
time from Freddy's Nightmares podcast?
This is true, yes.
I mean, I'm just saying, we did 50
44
some
episodes? Yeah.
Well, we did 50 episodes of our show about Freddy's Nightmares, and I feel like you said daymare almost every episode.
Yeah, there was a lot of daymares in that show.
Imagine.
Crazy, right? So we next see Jack in the bathroom. He's freshly shaved. The Rocky theme kicks in, and we watch a montage of Jack cleaning the house. He's painting the fence. He's getting the house back in order, even getting Joan and the ladies to start exercising, which is hilarious because he's leading the exercise but pops around the corner, takes a swig of his beer.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, he's got to hydrate.
He's even working on the school drop-off lane, so he's actually taken the position of organizing the drop-off lane. We see him waking the kids up with a horn, telling them to clean their rooms. He even keeps Carolyn on schedule, giving her toast while she's in the shower, being like, hey, babe, you're going to be late, and kissing her bye before she leaves. He even burns his flannel in the fireplace.
Yeah.
And
we even burns it in effigy.
And we see Kenny next to him holding his wubby, and we think he's going to throw it in, but that's when Kenny walks off. So Kenny is then found by Jack in his room, and he's like, hey, buddy, what about getting rid of Whoopi? At one point, it's going to be, it's going to be fine with this, but then you're going to be onto electric blankets and then some bed sheets. Like, he uses a drug example.
Yeah, he uses a drug metaphor. Yeah. It's very funny. Before you know it, you'll be strung out on comforters.
Yeah. So Kenny still doesn't want to get up. So Jack is like, hey, what if you give it to me for a couple days? If you don't like it, we'll give it back and, go from there. So Kenny hands it over, and Jack tells him that he's got a lot of guts, kid. And that's when Kenny's like, hey, can I be alone for a few minutes with myself? And Jack's like, go ahead, bud. So he goes down the stairs holding Whoopi, and Alex is sitting on the steps with him, and he tells his dad, hey, you had to do it. It's a really sweet scene.
And I love it because Alex is the younger brother, too. Yeah.
No, Alex is the older. Kenny's the younger.
Then why was he laying in the bed that wasn't the car?
I don't know, but I know Alex is the older one because Kenny has the Whoopi.
Oh, okay. I thought that the older brother had a Whoopi, and that's why it was so important.
No, Alex is the older one.
Huh. Yeah, because he laid in the older kid's bed.
Well, because Alex goes to school, Kenny doesn't.
I was just confused by the fact that he didn't lay in the race car bed.
Yeah.
So that made me think he was the older son.
Yeah, I got you. So that's when we see Jack preparing a nice meal for him and Carolyn, but clearly she's late. We see him sitting at the table alone. He's playing with the wine or the champagne cork at one point and just sitting back. Finally, he ends up eating the dinner by himself and goes to bed. Carolyn comes home late, and she sees that he had set the table for her, and he also left a note that says, dinner's in the oven, and the chef is in bed. Signed, Jacques.
Jacques.
So that's when we see Carolyn go out to the couch. She ends up falling asleep on it, and Jack comes down and, kisses her. And that's when they comment that, he's doing a great job with everything. She's really proud of him. They share a kiss. We cut to the next day at the office as we see Carolyn pace outside the boardroom as Ron comes out telling her that Mr. Humphrey shot down every idea that they had for the Schooner Tuna, and that she is the ace in the hole at this point. So we see her pitch to Schooner Tuna using economy struggles for them to drop the cans 50 cents, basically.
Which doesn't make any sense economically.
None whatsoever.
Because the average can of tuna was certainly less than 50 cents in 1983.
Yeah.
And apparently when I Googled that, I was not the first person who had thought about it.
Yeah.
Which says a lot. Just relax and enjoy the movie.
Mr. Humphrey is immediately won over with her, says that it's a tuna with a heart pitch that he loves, and he also loves that Carolyn. He even asked Ron where he's been hiding her all this time.
Yeah, so that's a huge win for her in her career.
Yeah. So the whole group congratulates her outside of the boardroom. Next, we see it's Halloween as a limo arrives to pick Carolyn up for an 8 o'clock flight as she's flying to California to shoot the Schooner Tuna commercial. The kids are all dressed for Halloween. Jack's dressed as a prisoner for Halloween. Carolyn.
Yep.
Carolyn kisses Jack, and, Jack pleads with her not to go because, this is Halloween. The kids are excited, and she's like, there'll be other Halloweens. And he's like, but what if the kids outgrow this? And she's like, Jack, they're young. Like, there's going to be other Halloweens. And Jack just pleads with her, to stay. And Carolyn reassures him that everything's going to be okay. That's when Jack takes a second, and he's like, you've always told me that there's important things that we don't want to miss. This is one of them, even stating that she could dress as a ghost because it seems like even when she's here, she's not.
Burn.
So it's a really serious scene, and Jack pleads with her one time, stating it's really easy to forget what's important. Carolyn says she'll be back in a week, and they can talk about this then, wiping tears as she gets into the limo. That's when Annette and Joan, also dressed up for Halloween, we see that Annette is wearing an E.T. mask, and Joan is dressed as a cat. And Annette walks over, and she's like, oh, problem with the little woman? And Jack's like, shut up, Annette.
I do love that. She's dressed as E.T., so it's like, trouble with the little woman? Shut up, Annette.
So next we see Jack trying to potty train Megan as a punkish babysitter arrives at the door. Jack then decides that he's going to take the kids to this meeting he has with Jinx. As Jinx tells him, hey, I need you to back this up for me, bud. Like, this is some serious shit. And they go into the meeting, and that's when we find out that Jinx is basically throwing Jack and his buddies under the bus for the work because production's down, costs are up, and they want to know why. And Jack immediately sees what's going on, so he's like, this guy's just trying to cover his ass. Like, when I was there, production was up. We had all these great rates going on. And that's when Alex enters the room, and Jinx tells him that he'll have to leave. Jack tells him if he ever talks to his kids like that again, he'll knock him right out.
He's going to knock you out. Mama said knock you out.
So that's when we see Jack in the restroom trying to dry Megan with one of the hand dryers in the bathroom, and the bathroom's in disarray. There's toilet paper all over the place as the kids are running rambunctious. That's when one of the meeting people and Jinx walk in, and Jinx just has a laugh at the sight of this.
Yeah, good old Jinx.
Jeffrey Tambor just being a dick so well.
Well, yeah.
So in California, Carolyn is watching Mr. Humphrey struggle with the commercial. Ron's annoyed, but he also asks Carolyn about dinner after they're done shooting the commercial, and that's when Carolyn states that she's just so tired that she just wants to go back to her hotel room and enjoy the jacuzzi, and Ron's like, it's not a bad idea.
It's just a bathtub. It's not a jacuzzi.
But she says jacuzzi. She doesn't say bath.
She says lay in a hot tub.
Hot tub, excuse me.
Hot tub feels nice. Inside joke.
Jack is out with the ladies, and they are leaving a restaurant, and that's when they push him into the car, taking him to a Chippendales show, which is a really funny scene.
No, it is really funny because the guys are dancing, they're stripping down to their skivvies, and then one dancer just beelines
right
for Jack. He is all about him and gives him a couple bucks.
He's like, I don't want to know where it's going. Don't tell me.
Of course, it's going right into the cod piece.
Right into the cod piece. So that's when the kids ask, so Jack leaves and the ladies drop him off the house, and that's when he walks in, and Annette laughs because he's like, you knew where they were taking me. And that's when the kids ask if they can call Carolyn, and he's like, no, it's too late, we'll call her tomorrow. And that's when Annette's like, well, it's only 8:30 in California. So they decide to call her. We see Carolyn in a bubble bath enjoying a milkshake as Ron sneaks in with the room service guy. He starts pouring champagne, changing the stereo, which gets Carolyn's attention, and that's when her phone rings in the hotel room. Ron answers, and he's like, Alex who? And that's when Alex hands the phone off to Jack, and Jack's like, hi, who is this? And Ron's like, Ron says who he is. Who's this? And he's like, well, this is her husband. Ron immediately hangs up the phone.
He hangs up the phone, and this begins. Things getting a little hairy.
So Carolyn comes out asking who that was, and Ron admits that he's been drinking a lot. And Carolyn knows this, and Ron tells her to dump Jack. He's, we could work on this together. You could become partner. That's when she punches Ron out as he goes in for a kiss. And Martin Mull, at one of his comedic best, laying in the back of the seat that topples over this chair, his legs hanging over it. He goes, playing hard to get, I see.
And she clocks the shit out of him.
Clocks him very hard.
Yeah.
So that's when the next morning back at the house, the same night back at the house, Annette's enjoying a beer with Jack, and the phone rings for the fourth time, and Annette's like, why don't you answer it? And Jack's like, okay, yeah, I will. Unplugs the phone, chucks it across the house, and that's when Annette's like, all right, I'm going to leave you to go with your
feelings.
You
probably want to be alone.
Yeah. So also at the last second, he kicks through the TV screen, destroying it, which I forgot about.
It startled me because it knocks over and basically explodes with a little bit of fire, and you're like, oh, shit, okay.
So the next morning, we see Annette gossiping to Joan. She's like, now I told you this in secrecy, don't do anything with it. And she's like, don't worry, I won't, speeding out of her driveway right towards Jack's house. So that's when we also see that Carolyn's plane is landing. Alex answers the door, covered in paint, and we see Jack is painting the house. He's kind of just on one of his chore tirades. The TV repairman's over, and she's like, hey, Jack, I found the problem, pulling a shoe out of the TV.
Well, there's your problem.
There's your problem.
That's one of my favorite tropes, is the mechanic that just goes, there's your problem, pal.
The exterminator is also back over checking around. This is also when he has all right, I found, nothing in the kitchen. I'm going to go check the basement. Hope I don't find any bugs down there. So that's when Jack offers Joan a drink, and she gets the idea, and we see her walking into his bedroom with a tray with 2 glasses on it and a bottle of Jack Daniels.
Because
the good stuff.
Classy.
Because
she's classy.
She expresses her approval of his new bed sheets, even laying on them. them, and Jack's in the bathroom, and he's just talking to himself in the mirror about what could go wrong if he ends up sleeping with Joan.
One of my favorite gags, because he starts doing A, she's a very attractive woman.
Yeah.
B, you're this and this. And as it cuts back, he comes back, he's like, M. She's
he just goes to the entire alphabet.
He's really, really laying out all of his options.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because it's like on one hand, he doesn't want to cheat, but on the other hand, he's really got to convince himself that this isn't a good idea because he's basically, as far as he knows, he's been cheated on. He's been mistreated.
Yeah.
And now he has this beautiful woman throwing herself at him. But unfortunately, things aren't going to work out for that anyway.
So Carolyn comes in and she finds Joan and she's asking what she's doing in her room. Jack, still in the bathroom, comes out not realizing Carolyn's back. And he's like, all right, Joan. And she's like, Jack. And he's like, Carolyn, what are you doing here? And that's when, he has come to the conclusion that he's in love with his wife. He's not going to do anything. So Carolyn asks about the other woman in his room. Jack tells her he's trying to stay calm. This is not the time to talk about it. Downstairs, Jinx now comes over begging Jack to come back because he is in trouble. He stripped the budget back. He's been found out. He's begging Jack, you can have a salary, you can have a car. And Jack just doesn't want to hear this. And Alex even is like, hey, Dad, blah, blah, blah. And that's when Jinx decides to yell at his son again, and Jack says, I warned you, and punches Jinx out.
Yeah, just cold clocks him, and his son's like, wow, one punch.
One punch. So Ron also comes over begging Carolyn to come back, because if Carolyn doesn't come back, Mr. Humphries is going to pull the account. Jack finds out that Carolyn quit her job, and she's like, I didn't like that job anyway. Jinx offers Jack full salary company car, and he's like, talking to the exterminator, he's like, oh, full salary company car? Oh, you should take it.
Yeah, he uses the bug guy as like a negotiator. He's like, tell him I want this and this and this.
I want Stan and such and such back.
Yeah. And he turns to me, he's like, he wants Stan and so back. Who are they?
Yeah. So we see Jack and Carolyn make up. They're happy with it. Carolyn commercial comes on the air, which talk about going to air really quick. She shot that commercial yesterday.
Well, life moves in the fast lane when it comes to the big tuna.
So that's when the commercial comes on. The TV repairman is talking to Ron. Jinx is talking to the exterminator. We see Jack and Carolyn watching the spot. The kids surround them. And that is the end of 1983's Mr. Mom.
It's true, you boys. And what a ride. It definitely escalates very quickly at the end.
Yeah, that last 15 minutes.
Everything kind of shatters all at once.
Yeah. So would you like to know what the budget was for the film?
I would.
You want to guess? 1983.
I bet it's lower than, 83.
Single digit, I'll give you that.
I was about to guess, and then you fucked it up.
You didn't fuck it up. You were going to guess single digits anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say 4. Fuck you.
Oh, okay. 5.
Oh, okay. I was bizarrely close.
Yeah, $5 million. Opening weekend, it takes in $947,000. It comes out July 24th of 1983. Box office totaling $64 million.
Well, that's a fucking hit.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
So
I would say this kind of launched his career.
Just a bit.
Yeah,
just a bit.
Yeah.
So shot in Los Angeles and Santa Monica, California. This is based on a personal experience of John Hughes. His wife had gone to Arizona, so he was left with his 2 young sons to take care of, and Nancy was taking care of him all through college, his wife. Before that, his mother had taken care of him, so John was really out of his element for this. So he actually wrote all his experiences down, ends up making an 80-page screenplay out of his personal stories.
It's very obvious to me that this came from a place of experience.
Yeah, so Hughes asked if this would make a good movie to Lynn Schuler-Donner, and she says, it sounds funny to me. Schuler was a producer at I think it was Universal at the time, and Hughes wrote the film. He flew to LA to rewrite it with her, and they pitched it to the execs at Universal Studios. After being hired as an executive producer, Aaron Spelling tells him the execs are unhappy that Hughes works in Chicago and not in LA, so he's fired off the project.
Yeah, that was a problem he faced a lot early on.
And so they bring in TV writers to do a rewrite for it. Ron Howard is offered to direct the film, but turned it down to direct Splash. The studio eventually turned the project into a feature film, and Schuler, who remained on the project, says Hughes' original script was much better than what the film turned out to be.
Well, I'm sure they broadened it a lot.
Yeah. This is the second feature written by John Hughes, and the first time that Michael Keaton receives top billing. Keaton turned down Splash to do this film.
Good for him.
Keaton was represented by Laurie Perlman, and she contacted Schuler stating, look, I represent this guy. He's really funny. Would you meet him? Schuler met simply because Perlman was a friend who also recommended that she go see Night Shift, which was his comedy that was out at the time. Schuler recalls going to see Night Shift and midway through could not wait to get out of the theater so she could give the role to him for Mr. Mom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So the 2021 scene between Keaton and Mull improvised the 2020-21 line. Keaton told Esquire, "We were doing the scene, and I remember saying to the prop guy, go find me a chainsaw." So the prop guy comes back, and he says, "You want to wear these?" holding the goggles. And that's when he says, "Yeah, they would make me look real crazy." And that's when Martin shows up. He says, "I know I shouldn't go. I should look under control. I know I'm sweating. I'm a dude." So we're standing there, and Martin pulls me aside, and he says, "You know what you ought to say? When I ask you about the wiring, you ought to just deadpan 22221." And I died. It was perfect. I may have added whatever it takes, but it's a hit. Or it's
that sounds like Mull, because Mull came from a very intense improv background.
Yeah. Keaton also went on to say that every carpenter or construction person that he's worked with always references that line and quotes it to him.
It's a great line. It's super funny.
According to Jeffrey Tambor, the shot of Keaton knocking him out was done in one take.
Damn right.
In an interview with the AV Club, Terri Garr revealed that when producers pitched the movie to her, they hid the plot reversal. They just told me it was about a guy who does the work that a woman does because it's so easy, and I went, "Oh yeah, it's so easy." All the women I know who stay home and take care of their kids, they go, "Oh yeah, this is easy." In 1983, more women stayed at home than worked, so it was a novelty for a man to be a stay-at-home dad. Today, an estimated 1.4 million men are stay-at-home dads, and 7 million men are their children's primary caregiver. Mr. Mom became part of the vernacular. Donner told Newsweek Mr. Mom represented a segment of men who were at home dealing with the kids, who up until then really who hadn't been heard from. That's what they really told me about the power of the film, because it spoke to a lot of men. It also helped women, because I think that women sometimes, if you're a housewife or you're not really appreciated for what you do, this sort of made women feel better about what they did because they knew that the men were understanding it.
Quotes are weird.
Yeah, they are. In this scene where Jeffrey Tambor's character fires the engineer, he reassures them that you guys are terrific engineers. You're too good not to catch on somewhere. Michael Keaton's character replies, "Where are we going to go? On Nagasaki?" 3 years later, Keaton would star in Gung Ho, a film which opened with his character, an automotive factory foreman, traveling to Japan to convince a Japanese automaker to reopen the factory.
So it's a sequel.
It's a sequel. Have you seen Gung Ho?
No,
it's a pretty good movie. It's a little odd, but it's fun. In the scene where Terri Garr arrives home to find Keaton and Jillian kissing after getting shot in the struggle for the gun, Keaton ad-libbed the sip from the foaming beer bottle, which knocked over after it fell to the floor, and Jillian can be seen struggling to hide her laughter even with her back to the camera. The move was not scripted, and Keaton simply incorporated it into the scene.
Nice, I like that.
Tailson Jaffe, who played Kenny Butler in the film, admitted on Mr. Mom bonus documentary that his asking for a moment alone to himself was due to the fact that he forgot his line, and that it's the scene seemed so genuine that they decided to keep it in.
Really?
Yeah.
That's so crazy, because to me, that scene was obviously a child being directed to act like a little adult.
Yeah, the guy on the bonus said that that's what it was.
Huh.
The attack of the vacuum was shot using a hollowed-out vacuum with an RC car inside that a stagehand ran via remote control perched above the set.
Okay.
Mr. Mom opened on 126 screens. Once the film went wide a month later to 1,235 screens, it hit #1 at the box office and spent 5 weeks at the top. By the end of its run, the film had grossed just shy of $65 million, making it the 9th highest-grossing film of 1983, just between Staying Alive and Risky Business.
Wow.
National Lampoon's Vacation, Hughes' other film that summer, came out July 29th and ended its theatrical run with $61 million at its height. It showed on 1,248 screens. Vacation finished the year in 11th place, so Mr. Mom beat National Lampoon's Vacation.
Wow, that surprises me.
Yeah.
Man. That's nuts.
Part of a mini cycle of Hollywood reversal comedies of the 1980s, the films include Mr. Mom in 83, Baby Boom in 87, and 3 Men and a Baby in 87 as well.
Oh yeah, 3 Men and a Baby.
Chevy Chase, Michael Douglas, Steve Martin, Robin Williams, John Goodman, and John Travolta were all considered for the role of Jack Butler.
I could see John Travolta.
I could see Travolta. I could see Martin.
Yeah, I could see that too.
Dabney Coleman, Jeffrey Jones, Burt Reynolds, and Jack Nicholson were considered for the role of Ron Richardson. I could see Dabney.
Jeffrey Jones.
Jeffrey
Always.
Jones, yes, of course.
A million times, Jeffrey Jones.
Karen Allen, Jane Curtin, Farrah Fawcett, and Sally Field were considered for the role of Carolyn Butler.
Oh man, I mean
Sally Field.
Sally Field.
Yeah,
but I'm damn.
Yeah,
that's a hell of a list.
So, what are your final thoughts on Mr. Mom?
Well, when it comes to Mr. Mom, I kind of gave away most of my opinion on it, which is very simply that it's a fun and sweet film with a lot of laughs. It's not Hughes's best work. It's not something that I have to revisit constantly like a lot of his other work.
Yeah.
So I do love it. I'm a completionist. If you're out there and you can't get enough of Ferris Bueller and Planes, Trains, and Automobiles and all of that, then you should probably own it.
Yeah.
But I think for the average person, it's a rent it.
Yeah.
It's definitely worth paying for to watch, especially for the beginning of Michael Keaton's career, the beginning of John Hughes's career really taking off. It was a big deal, but at the end of the day, the movie is kind of, it's lacking some of the stuff that made Hughes's big hits so big. But I do love it, and I think the Keaton factor really helps the movie a lot.
I would love to see his original screenplay because I'm curious if it got a little darker.
I wonder.
Yeah, same. So it's a rent it for me as well. A very funny and wholesome family comedy. It tackles issues that I think are still topical today. Keaton shines in his first top-billed movie, both bringing the jokes nonstop, but also he portrays a very caring and loving father and husband in it.
No, he does, and he comes across consistently kind and loving, even with those eyebrows.
Even with those eyebrows. The supporting cast keeps the film going with its terrific bits, and the writing is kind of like your own Wubby in a way. It just has that Hughes feeling that only he can deliver, even if it is a little down from what he can produce usually.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's the beginning. That's all.
Yeah.
You know, it's the beginning. He can't come out of the gate with Ferris Bueller.
No,
you can't come out of the gate with Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
Yeah.
You have to build up.
Exactly. So that is our final thoughts on Mr. Mom, and as always, we'd like to end the show with a couple recommendations. I have two for this week. First one being Michael Keaton's first movie, Night Shift from 1982. A mild-mannered morgue attendant is assigned to the night shift, and his new co-worker, along with his prostitute neighbor, convince him running a prostitution out of the morgue. You want to watch Night Shift after this?
Kind of.
Oh, we should. We totally should. Second recommendation, I'm going to go with The Pacifier with Vin Diesel from 2005. Having recovered from wounds received in a failed rescue operation, Navy SEAL Shane Wolf is handed a new assignment: protect the 5 plumber kids from the enemies of their recently deceased father, a government scientist whose top secret experiment remains in the kid's house.
That's amateur hour.
What you got?
I'm going with the film that The Pacifier wishes it could kiss the boots of.
Mr. Nanny?
Fucking A, Mr. Nanny.
I knew it!
Starring Hollywood Hulk Hogan himself.
Yep.
Mr. Nanny is the quintessential ridiculous so-and-so is handed children story, which there were so many of those. It was such a popular gimmick. Well, it made sense because his kids would like it.
Yeah.
You know, so, but Hulk Hogan plays Mr. Nanny. What more do you want from me, people?
And also, if you've never seen Mr. Nanny, when he is, during the opening credits, when he's riding on his motorcycle and he passes a body of water, watch a man chuck his dog into the water that was caught on camera. That's really fucked up.
Bizarre.
It's so weird. So that's going to do it for Mr. Mom. Would you like to know what we're talking about next week? As
Absolutely not.
Mull-Gust continues?
Absolutely not. No, thank you.
We're talking about The Player from 1992. Mull has just a small cameo in it, as does so many celebrities. This is a movie that I recently discovered actually this year. I cannot recommend it enough. It's a really, really good movie about making movies in old-time Hollywood.
And it's a first-time watch for me.
Yes, it is.
So I'll probably hate it.
I doubt
it's on Dave.
Do we have any emails?
So, do we?
Oh.
Well, yes, we do. And I want to remind you, if you're listening or watching this, you can get a hold of us by sending us an email at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com or going to doyouevenmovie.com. We love to hear from you guys, whether it's recommending a movie, giving us your thoughts, etc., etc., etc.,
etc.
So this email is from our good buddy Wolfdan.
Okay.
It's the subject line is Serbian film joke on Monster Maker.
Jesus.
Oh, come on, guys. Finish the joke. I wish I could remember the joke.
I'm sure it had something to do with a baby.
For those who don't get it, familiarize yourself with a Serbian film. It's probably the hardest film I've seen, though I have yet to see The Green Inferno. I mean, I wouldn't compare the two.
Green Inferno and Serbian film have nothing in common.
No. He says, I grew up on the Faces of Death generation when those were the hardest core gross-out films because they were believed to be real, and to be fair, it wasn't all fake.
Mm-hmm.
But a Serbian film makes those look like a Disney documentary.
No comment.
Okay. Love what you guys do. You're so entertaining. You're yours furry, Wolfdan. I wonder if he realizes what yours furry means nowadays.
Yeah, probably. But Serbian film.
Thank you, Dan.
Serbian film is not one that I would recommend, and I'll just leave it at that.
Oh, we're covering it for Dave's next birthday.
The hell we are.
Don't worry. It's my gift to you.
Oh, thanks, bud.
I'm always here for you, man.
Oh, my God.
Don't worry about it.
Jesus.
So, but no, seriously, if you guys want to reach out, feel free to send us an email at doyouevenmoviepod@gmail.com. It's in the show notes. And you know, check us out on Instagram at doyouevenmovie. Find us on Facebook at Do You Even Movie, and everything else is at doyouevenmovie.com.
That is correct.
And remember, if you're watching us on YouTube, thank you. Please leave us a like, leave a comment. We would appreciate it very much. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcasting app like Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star rating. It makes a very, very big difference in helping people discover the program.
It absolutely does. And don't forget, we will also look into recommendations for films you have. If you've got one that you just love and you want to hear us cover, shoot us an email, shoot us a comment. We would love to hear what you would like to hear us talk to you about.
If we get 15 requests for Serbian film, then we have to do it.
No, we don't.
So
no, we don't.
That's in the charter of the show.
I don't care. That will be my retirement from the show.
Oh man, okay, well I'll just manufacture it.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, we got 15 emails.
Oh, is that quick, huh? While we're recording this, people
While
heard
we
us.
were recording, people figured it out.
Crazy.
So, but until next time, my friends, we will see you next Tuesday.